You're watching the program National Cuisine on Kazakh TV. Today's guest is a wonderful human being, honored artist of the Republic of Kazakhstan and circus performer Murat Muturganov. We're going to make a Kazakh national dish. Let's wait for Murat at our studio. I am very glad to see you. Likewise. Why don't you tell our viewers about the dish that we're about to make? We're going to make a Kazakh national dish called Beshbarmak. It is probably the most delicious dish in Kazakhstan. As far as I know, this dish has several names. I suppose it does. The word Beshbarmak translates as 5 fingers. Another name for this dish is yet. Yes, but Beshbarmak is the more common and popular name. Wouldn't you agree? Of course. Beshbarmak is a Kazakh national dish that is cooked in every family. Its main ingredients are meat, mutton, horse meat or beef, and dough. Modern interpretations can also involve potatoes, carrots, and onions. The traditional recipe, however, is based on meat and dough. You have brought mutton and horse meat Kazy. Why did you decide on this mixture? Some cooks also add spices. Yes, spices, but I prefer the original version. The mixture of mutton and horse meat creates an unusual flavor. Most importantly, results in a rich and juicy broth. Do you have any meat cooking secrets? My mom recommends discarding the water from the first boiling and using fresh water for further cooking. But I am too lazy to do it, so I don't. I always make sure to remove the foam, though. Today we are going to do it my way. The lazy way? The lazy way, yes. Let's start by adding the meat. The meat is in. How long does it take to cook the meat? The cooking time for mutton is about 2 hours. Horse meat also takes 2 or 3 hours. Since we're using a mixture of both, how long do you think it should take? Let's go for the average cooking time, 2.5 hours. I agree, 2.5 hours it is. It's a good thing we're not cooking camel meat today. It would take us 4 hours. Beshbarmak is also a holiday dish. It is made to celebrate special occasions. The party involves a visit from relatives or a large number of guests. Beshbarmak can be made from the meat of a whole sheep. The ceremony of presenting meat to the guests is an important part of the dinner ritual. The sheep's head is typically served to the oldest guest. Ears and legs are given to the children. This way, Kazakh families show respect and reverence for their elders. Let's start cutting the onions. All right. You can also add potatoes. My mom likes to use potatoes in Beshbarmak. And you don't? It's not that I don't like potatoes. I just don't enjoy peeling them. I'm too lazy for that. So you make the lighter version of Beshbarmak. I suggest we slice the onions into long rings. Have you decided to go for the crescent shape? I have. All right then, but I will slice them into rings. I like it when the dish is served with beautiful onion rings. I prefer thin slices. I do too. Some people like coarsely chopped onions, but I don't. Yes, thin slices look much better. How often do you cook at home? You know, I have recently married. Surely you didn't marry for the home-cooked meals, did you? No, of course not. My sister and mother used to cook for me. I always thought that I would start cooking when I moved out and got my own place. But now that I'm married, my wife does all the cooking. I cook very rarely. Do you make Beshbarmak? We leave this dish to my mom. My wife and I visit my parents once a week, and my mom makes Beshbarmak in Baursaks. We often go on tours to different countries. That's interesting. Tell us about that. Whenever we get homesick, we make Beshbarmak. Is it hard to find the right meat abroad? Mutton and beef are not hard to find. My mom makes the dough herself. She rolls it out really thin and cuts it. This is our way of dealing with homesickness. Beshbarmak is not the kind of dish that can be made in small quantities for only one person. It is usually made for at least 5 persons. Beshbarmak is served on a large dish which is placed at the center of the family's dinner table. This is what I like about Beshbarmak. It's not the kind of dish one can eat alone. It calls for a large party of family and friends. How do you feel about pre-made food? If you have time, it is always better to make the dough yourself. You know, I used to think so too, but I don't really see the difference anymore. Pre-made products are just as tasty. Do you think the quality of the dish depends on the meat and the broth? It's quite possible that it depends on the cook's state of mind. When I am cooking, I put my heart, soul into it. I cook with love and my dishes turn out really tasty. You say you tour a lot and travel to different countries. Which national cuisine do you enjoy, apart from Kazakh food? I appreciate Italian cuisine. We toured through Italy once. We stayed and worked there for about 4 years. I enjoy the culture and the people and the food, of course. I would have to say that after Kazakh food, my second favorite cuisine is Italian. Despite the fact that meat is the main ingredient of Beshbarmak, dough is just as important. I do believe the dough must be rolled out very thinly. I also believe it is best to do it yourself. The dough can be cut into diamond-shaped pieces, long and thin slices, or neat squares. While the shape of the pieces is irrelevant, the dough itself must be homemade. We're moving on. Our broth is rich and juicy. Let's put it in a small saucepan. The one with sliced onions? Yes, that's right. Let's add some pepper. We don't need to add salt. There is already enough salt in the broth. I recommend salting the meat before cooking. Have we added enough pepper? We certainly have. Just enough to bring out the flavor. And it's time for the broth. We'll cook it over a low fire. The onions must be well done. Some people like their onions undercooked and crispy. Others prefer them well done. What texture do you think the onion sauce should have? I like it soft and well done. Have you ever eaten Beshbarmak with your hands? I always eat it with my hands, even when I'm eating out. After all, it is a national dish, and it tastes better when eaten with your own 5 fingers. With your hands. Yes. Kazakhstan is so large, 5 times the size of France. Beshbarmak is cooked differently in different parts of the country. Depending on the traditions and resources of the area, Beshbarmak is made from fish, mutton, or beef. Fish is particularly favored in the regions located near the sea. 2.5 hours have passed. I suggest we take out the meat and let it cool before we cut it. And now it's time to add our pre-made dough. For some reason, when I boil dough, the pieces stick to one another. It never happens when I am cooking. I do not put it all at once. I add the dough slowly, piece by piece. Yes, I can see that. And then you stir it. Yes, it happens automatically. You also have to watch the proportions. You don't want to end up with too much dough and not enough broth. How long do we cook it? 5 to 15 minutes. If I see that it is not ready yet, I cook it for 15 minutes. But 5 is the minimum cooking time. The meat is cooled down a bit. I don't particularly enjoy cutting meat. It's all right if you don't like to do it. Do you prefer bigger or smaller slices? Thinly sliced meat is easier to eat. In that case, I'll make both thin and thick slices. I prefer thickly sliced meat. Let's compromise. Medium size? Yes. I do prefer big pieces of meat. Well, you are the cook, so it's up to you.
Расскажи, пожалуйста, все-таки многие знают тебя как
Many people know you as a circus performer. I'm very happy to hear that. But you seem to be the kind of person who likes to work in different genres and artistic fields. You have acted in films, for instance. I have. I played a supporting character in a feature film. When you are offered a good part, how can you turn it down? What else do you enjoy doing? I dream about having my own chapiteau circus, a portable, foldable tent. Would you like to keep touring? Yes, all across Kazakhstan. I have a dream to tour through the entire Kazakhstan with my own chapiteau circus. We have 4 circuses in our country, in Astana, Almaty, Shymkent, and Karaganda. I would love for the other regions to see our performances. Kazakhstan is a multinational country. Even though Beshbarmak is inherently Kazakh, it has become an international dish that is enjoyed by many nations of the world. For example, Korean families cook Beshbarmak with spices. Other peoples make it from fish or chicken. Beshbarmak has become a bridge between cultures, peoples, and generations. Recipe: mutton, Kazy, dough, 1 egg, flour 500 grams, water 250 to 300 mils, sauce, onions 3 to 4, black pepper and salt to taste. Here, I'll stir it. The onions have turned out beautifully, just like you promised. Now I understand why you wanted to slice them into rings. You see, I was right. It looks really beautiful. I never paid much attention to it until now. Our dish is done.
Потому что не видел разницы. Так, ну просто что водички. И в принципе у нас все готово.
Bon appetit, dear friends. Murat, thank you for sharing this delicious Beshbarmak recipe with us. Dear viewers, don't forget to watch our next program on Kazakh TV. See you soon.